Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a really unique spiritual philosophy, one that sees our entire existence through the lens of debt. It's a framework where pretty much every action, every relationship, even the fact that we're here on Earth, is all part of a huge spiritual accounting project. Okay, let's just jump right in with one of the biggest questions there is. Why are we here? Most philosophies will give you answers about finding your purpose, or learning, or just being happy. But the source material we're looking at today, it has a totally different take.
And this quote, this is really the core idea. According to this way of thinking, the simple fact that you and I are here right now is all the proof you need that we're indebted. Our birth isn't just some fresh start. It's more like we're returning to a place where we've got some serious accounts to settle.
So here's the crucial point. Our entire life, from the moment we're born to the day we die, is basically one long opportunity to pay back what we owe. Every single experience, the good and the bad, gets reframed as a transaction on this spiritual balance sheet. The goal isn't just to live. It's to get to a point where you're completely debt-free.
Okay, but if we owe all this debt, what's the force that actually keeps us here to pay it back? What stops us from just leaving? Well, this system explains it with a really fascinating concept that it calls a spiritual law of gravity.
So this is the force we're talking about, a law of spiritual gravity. But don't think about physical mass. Think about metaphysical weight. According to this law, the more debt you're carrying, whether it's to people, places, or even ideas, the stronger their spiritual pull is on your soul. It's like an anchor, holding you to this plane of existence.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. It's like a cosmic tug of war, right? Every single debt you have adds to your spiritual mass, making you heavier and more anchored to earth. But on the flip side, every act of merit, every good deed you do, it's like letting go of a sandbag. You get lighter, you weaken that gravitational pull, and that gives you the freedom to ascend. So what kind of debts are we even talking about? Well, this philosophy breaks them down into 4 main categories, as you can see. You've got the obvious ones, right? Financial debts. Then it gets deeper. Blood debts, which come from harming others. Then there are emotional debts. Think about all the care, love, and support we owe people. And finally, there's this huge one, a spiritual debt, for the gift of life and nature itself, which is owed to what the Source calls the greatest creator. And this whole concept is, well, it's absolute. There's no wiggle room. The Source uses this teaching to really drive home that there's no rounding down on your spiritual balance sheet. Nope. Even the smallest, tiniest unpaid debt, a single cent left on the ledger, is enough to keep that gravitational pull going and lock a soul into the cycle of repayment. The consequence of this spiritual gravity is just profound. What it means is that reincarnation isn't some random lottery. A soul gets pulled right back to the exact people, the same family, and the precise location where its debts are the heaviest. You are literally reborn in the perfect position to settle all your accounts. So, this brings us to the practical side of all this. If your whole life is about repayment, how do you actually do it? What are the real-world steps you can take to clear this spiritual ledger? According to this source, the whole path really begins at home. Our families are often seen as our main creditors, the souls to whom we owe the most. And the path to repayment involves a pretty radical kind of endurance, service, and selflessness towards them, fulfilling all your obligations without expecting anything in return. And then, the philosophy takes this logic in a really wild, counterintuitive direction. It suggests that we shouldn't just endure hardship from our loved ones, but that we should actively welcome it from people who want to harm us. Now, why on earth would anyone do that? While the reasoning is laid out right here, the people who harm you, despise you, or make you suffer, they're actually doing you a huge favor. They are giving you an opportunity to repay your karmic debt, and to do it faster. In a strange way, they're your debt collectors, and by letting them collect, you're clearing your account and speeding up your spiritual progress. So beyond all these personal interactions, the ultimate way to pay everything back is what the Source calls formless almsgiving. These are basically just selfless acts of service that you do for the good of everyone, with absolutely no desire for recognition or reward. This generates so much merit that it can start to offset debts all across your ledger. So what's the end game here? After all this hard work, all this accounting and endurance and selfless service, where does it all lead? What's the final objective of this whole all-encompassing path of repayment? It all comes down to these 3 core missions. First, you have to clear the ledger of everything you owe.
Second, you start to build up a surplus of positive spiritual capital through all your good deeds. And then the final step, after you've done all that, is to perfect your own nature, which prepares you for the ultimate goal, liberation.
And here we get to a really fascinating paradox. The very same people that you owe the most to, your family, can also create the strongest gravitational pull. All that love, the obligations, the emotional debts, these are the ties that can bind you most tightly to this world, making it the hardest to leave behind.
The source highlights this specific teaching to really emphasize that our earthly attachments, especially those really powerful family bonds, are often the very last chains that we have to transcend. Now, this isn't about abandoning your family, not at all. It's about resolving those debts so completely that the gravitational pull just dissolves. Ultimately, it all boils down to this one number: 0. The goal is to get your spiritual balance sheet all the way to absolute 0. No outstanding liabilities, nothing owed to the earthly realm that could pull your soul back for another lifetime. And this right here is the ultimate prize for all that work, a state of complete spiritual weightlessness, total freedom from the cycle of debt and rebirth, allowing the soul to finally ascend into what the Source calls the heavenly kingdom, completely unburdened and unbound. And that leaves us with a final thought to mull over. I mean, regardless of what you personally believe, looking at life through this unique lens of debt and repayment, it offers a really powerful perspective. It kind of forces us to reevaluate our actions, our relationships, and what it truly means to be in balance with the world around us.